Let's start with the big question.
Who are you?
The all-new Spark FM.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. So those that are just now tuning in, we ain't late. We just been playing music, and YouTube don't like it when we play music. Facebook don't like it when we play music. So I play for the radio, and then I speak for y'all. What's going on? I feel really, really, really effing good today. And I have I'm not attached to a situation that makes me feel good. I feel good because I don't know why the hell I feel. You want to, no. I do know why I feel good. I feel good because I am living my truest, authentic self. Have you ever, I was a part of like, spiritual wellness check-in last night, and they were talking about, it's okay to cater to yourself, and we have this understanding of catering to yourself is like, self-care, self-wellness, and just all of these things, like, oh, go get your hair done, go get your nails done. And when we were talking last night, it's like little things when it comes to self-care. When's the last time you told you, I'm proud of you? When's the last time you told you, yes, girl, I'm so glad you did this thing that you did, even if it's something little? And so there were women on there that were like, I'm really excited that last night I made a beautiful dinner for my family. I haven't been able to cook as much as I want to. And so I'm grateful, thankful, and I congratulate myself for having worked over 40 hours this week. Is only Wednesday. I've already worked 40 hours. I have 5 kids. I have a husband. And last night I was able to manage myself well enough to cook for my family. And so it's little things like that that we don't pat ourselves on the back for, don't give ourselves credit for, those little things, those little victories. And so when's the last time you gave yourself a compliment? When's the last time you said, you know what? I am so proud that you were able to give grandma a call. You remembered to give your grandmother a call. Little things. I know it's little, like, damn, Taylor, I'm supposed to call my grandma every day. I'm supposed like, these are the things I'm supposed to do. That's great. That's absolutely fine. But life is real. And the things that we have planned or the things that we want to do don't necessarily happen in the way in which we plan for them to happen. So when things don't go as planned, instead of like getting on your own self and talking about yourself like, damn, you ain't did this and you ain't did that, because we have all this negative self-talk about the things that we haven't done and the things that we have not accomplished and how we could be better, and oh my God, why did it? And I'm talking to me, like you might be watching or listening at this time, but I'm really talking to myself. And these are the things, like, we have inner dialogue and inner conversations where we are forever whooping our own ass mentally, reminding ourselves of faults, reminding ourselves of, stumbles, reminding ourselves of not being the greatest that we can be, and not accepting, like, the best you is the one you show up as. If you have zero energy, you didn't eat breakfast, you didn't get a good sleep, you are dragging yourself and you are on 15%, but you still showed up with your 15%, give yourself a compliment and say, you know what? I am proud. I am proud of you today showing up at your 15%, because your ass could be at home in the bed or like stayed in the bed and not attended any Zooms or not done anything. So continuously give yourself a compliment. And I want right now for you to give yourself a compliment. Compliment yourself regardless of whatever it is. Tayla, I compliment you today for putting on real clothes, because today I wanted to wear sweatpants, but instead I put on clothes and I got dressed and I feel sexy and I feel good. And so I am giving myself the compliment, because I know damn well I wanted to wear that black sweatsuit. That's what I wanted to wear today, the black sweatsuit, but instead I got dressed. So I am giving myself the compliment. I am so proud of you, Tayla, for getting dressed today and not putting on a sweatsuit. Give yourself a compliment. What are you complimenting yourself on? Share your compliment with us, because we all need like little things. You better give yourself a little win. Tell me what your compliment is. What are you complimenting yourself for today? What are you loving yourself for today? Or maybe it's not even today, but this week. I recently had a situation, and full transparency, right? So I recently had a situation where people were literally coming out the side of their neck disrespecting a Taylor Andre. And once upon a time, I would have been fully involved, like head first, like, woo, let's go. And I was like, really? Like, what people say about me is not my business. Ain't nobody said it to me. Ain't nobody brought it to me. Ain't nobody called 617-459-0041 and spoke to me. So this has nothing to do with me. And then the fact that, so all day yesterday, I didn't even think about it. The day before, I didn't even think about it until somebody like sent me a text message or brought it up or called me and was like, oh, Taylor, you all right? Yeah, why wouldn't I? Oh, because I did it. Okay, well, that has nothing to do with me. 617-459-0041. Ain't nobody call me. It has nothing to do with me. And that was not Tayla once upon a time ago. And so I, for this week, acknowledge growth, baby. I acknowledge how much I have grown. And you don't realize how much you've grown. It's like you don't realize you lost weight until you put on them favorite jeans and they finally fit. You don't realize that you slimmed down a little bit until that tight ass dress ain't tight no more. Like you don't realize you've grown until you are put in a position where you would react one way and you're like, this is not worth my time. What did Drake say? Like, y'all don't pay me enough to react. I'm not getting paid to react. I'm off this. And so you don't realize how much you've grown until you have to be put in a position where the reaction that you would have done is not the reaction that you do. And you're like, wow, like that's not who I know me to be. Who is this new person? I like this new person. And so shout out to you. Whatever it is that you are excited for, that you are congratulating yourself for you are patting yourself on the back for, that is exactly what you're supposed to do. Put the head back, lay it to the side. What song is that? I don't know that song. Put me on game. And so, one of the things that I want to talk about today, I am super excited about what's going on in Boston as far as snap, crackle, pop, as far as this reform is concerned. And so Massachusetts, the state representatives have went ahead and protected us in the most beautiful way possible in the form of policy. The reform, shift, and build reduce the likelihood of police misconduct on the front end, increasing accountability on the back end. They have banned chokeholds, which I thought was a ban already, but here in Massachusetts, this new bill yesterday, an act relative to justice, equity, and accountability in law enforcement in the Commonwealth passed 92 to 67. And the 67 that did not vote for this are the 67 you need to hold accountable, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, because you need to take a look of how many people were against protecting citizens at the expense of our own tax-paying dollars. And so there's now a ban on chokeholds, a ban on the no-knock warrants unless police establish in a warrant that knocking would endanger the lives if children or elders are in the home. I'm looking for language there, and we have Representative China Tayla coming in the building on Monday to go through this bill line by line with us, and that's the reason why she couldn't be with us today. She said that the bill is over 300. No, it was like over 700 pages long, and she was like, I don't feel like I have everything down packed to present to your listeners. And so let's postpone until Monday. And so Monday, we will have China Tayla in the building breaking down for us the reform, shift, and build law that passed. A duty to intervene for officers witnessing abuse of force, a ban on racial profiling with new authority to the Attorney General to prosecute patterns of bad practices by police departments, a reform of hiring, promoting, and disciplining rules, including overtime fraud at the state police to strengthen accountability. I can't tell you this S9263, the act relative to justice, equity, and accountability in law enforcement in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I don't think you guys understand what this means. The reason why this is so important on the books in Massachusetts is because when you take a when you look at law, it's like having 50 kids and I'm the parent. And if I'm the parent of these 50 children, or 51, if you wanted to count our territories, like 55, if I am the parent of these children, and one of my children, Anari, went ahead and I did this thing with Anari, and I'm like, yo, when you get in trouble, these are the consequences. But with this other kid, I'm like, nah, when you get in trouble, these are the consequences. It's like, that's not fair, because when Anari has consequences, these are his consequences. But when I have consequences, like when I do something, these are mine. And so it's just like, now this other child can use what Anari and I have established to say, listen, I want what Anari has established. I want the consequence of what Anari has. And it's like, well, it's on the books. Me and Anari agreed to this thing. Let's renegotiate for me and this other child. And so when you take a look at the laws on the books in Massachusetts, if you're in Minnesota and you are trying to set, it's like presidents. When we get the attorney in the building, y'all gonna be in trouble, because I'm gonna have some knowledge of law in here. But when it comes to law, they look for like other caseloads. Like, for example, Massachusetts has done this thing, S9263, an act relative to justice, that is important because now we as Minnesota, me as California, we as Mississippi can now look to other states and use that as reference points. And so I am so excited and so blessed. Facial surveillance moratorium, first in the nation. Police officer standards in training, post police officer standing in training systems, banning chokeholds, banning excessive use of force, and requiring a duty to intervene, requiring de-escalation tactics, increasing limits on crowd and control tactics, creating a special legislative commission to study and examine the civil service law and rules covering personnel administration, establishing a commission on structural racism, a civilian-led police officer standard in training, a board with several seats designed to civil rights and reform-oriented nominating organizations. Like, when I tell you this bill is this law, because it passed, it was a bill, now it's a law, is everything that we needed and needs to be implemented in every other state. And so prohibition on schools passing students' personal information unrelated to a crime to different police departments, because we know for a fact that there have been babies that were deported for getting into a fight at school. So kids get into fights at school. I remember once upon a time, you could whoop somebody's ass in school, go home, and not even be suspended. You have a meeting, the teacher have a meeting, the parents have a meeting, everybody have a conversation, but you could have whooped somebody's ass or got your ass whooped, and there wasn't even suspension on the books. Now people are being deported for a simple fight that broke out in school. And so the fact that they're not sharing information with police departments or ICE agencies then protects not just the babies, but the families that are here undocumentedly. Also, the creation of a police officer standard and training post board that is endowed with real power and real community representation, instead of saying, oh, yeah, you guys can have a seat at the table. Absolutely. But everything you sit here and talk about has no, like, we don't have to implement anything you say. We don't even have to listen to anything you say. We're just giving you space to rant and rave, so we can say that we gave you space to rant and rave. And so I am super excited. I cannot wait until Monday so we can have a deeper conversation regarding this act that recently passed into law, S9263, an act relative to justice, equity, and accountability in law enforcement in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And so with that being said, that's huge though. When is it going to happen? It's happening now. Like, the bill just passed And now it's time for the implementation. We have Representative Tayla in the building on Monday to go through the law with us and what does that mean step by step, and when does it start to get enacted? Like, when is it valid? We'll have all those questions answered for you on Monday. But this is huge. It's huge. It's so big, and I'm glad. It's about time. So I want to give a huge shout out to Simone Sanders. Do you guys know who Simone Sanders is? Yeah, I didn't think you did. So I want to play this thing for you because Simone Sanders is so dope, and she has entered into my life, and I cannot let her go because I'm a people collector. And in my people collecting, Simone Sanders was one of them. And let me tell you what she said about a Tayla Andre, because I'm really excited about what Simone had to say about a Tayla Andre. Where are we? Hold on, because I think I muted it. Why isn't it playing, my love? Can you play for me, please? It's connected. There it is.
And then I have a selfish question. So my community question is, I live in Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Tayla Andre. I'm a radio and television personality, so I get all of the community's feedback on how we feel about different topics. And we have some of the most dynamic leaders in our community that bump heads and fail to work together. And I'm standing on the sideline like, if you stop sitting at the lunch tables of cliques, we could actually get something done. So I've had ideas. The elders are like, let them, everybody wants their credit, going back to, forget about the credit, just do the work. What about cliques? Like, how you just end the cliques? Can we be adults?
Because I'm pro-black and love black men.
Actually get shit done if we work together. And I don't know how to begin that conversation.
Wait, and what's the second question?
The second question is, Governor's Council is a position that a lot of people have no idea about. I recently learned about it. I want to run. The incumbent has been there as long as I've been alive. He's had that seat for 35 years. I'm broke. Like, I ain't got no money. So and he has millions of dollars. So I feel completely overwhelmed to even think about running, let alone actually doing it.
Great. So I want the panel to respond to the question about the cliques in the communities, because whether you're in Boston, Massachusetts, you in Jackson, Mississippi, whether you're in Omaha, wherever you are, there's a clique. It's a clique in this room, if we want to be honest. But I will respond to your first question and note that, so one, because you are, so I just finished a fellowship at Harvard, and I have heard you on radio. I heard you when I heard your voice. I'm like, oh, that's that girl. Because you have a recognizable voice and a recognizable name, you have the advantage of name ID that the person who has sat there for 35 years and no one knows does not have it. So I think you are in a way better position. Like, he has to spend the money because he don't have the name ID. You have just an enormous amount of name ID. So I think if you get a solid, good, small campaign team together, you need a strategy, the one or two things you're going to run on, and then go out there and you hit doors and you do some digital ads and you lean on the fact that everybody knows what you sound like and what your name is, you could do quite well. But also, to be frank, people in the community don't even know if they can vote for governor's council. And so you have to do some education to tell them that. But I don't think you should worry about the fact that you don't have a bunch of money to run for governor's council. If you're trying to run for Congress, we can have a separate conversation. But you're going to be good, girl. We know what you sound like. Exactly.
Yo. So I want to give a huge shout out to Simone Sanders, first and foremost, because when that baby was at Harvard doing her thing, I had no idea she was listening to a Tayla Andre, but she certainly was, and hopefully she's listening now, because we're trying to get her on air to talk about the fact that she is on the presidential communication team. And so I just want to give a huge shout out to my baby because she was out here working with Bernie Sanders on his communication team when he was running for president. And now she has landing a job in the White House with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. And I like Simone be out here talking that ish and be speaking the truth to power. And so I definitely appreciate her and her encouraging words. And yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And so shout out to Simone and an all Black communication staff, all Black women led, strong, powerful Black women, including Simone Sanders and Corinne Jane Perry, who was actually in that same vein, in that same, I don't know if you guys saw the entire panel, but she is also a Haitian American who was part of that panel at the 15th annual National Urban League convention. And I was air hustling that entire convention for all of the big names, all of the presidents, vice presidents, anybody with a name attached, letters attached to their name. Kamala Harris was actually a speaker at that event. I got that on film too. And when I tell you air hustling and really like understanding the way that politics works behind the scenes, not the politics that we see out here, but the politics that happens behind closed doors, it's a completely different beast. And it's actually embarrassing to know that we jump on bandwagons not because it's the right thing to do, but because of knowing who's going to win. Like, for instance, Tayla versus Andre. Tayla is, super bold and super, with the people, and the people love Tayla, but Andre got all the money and got all the connections. So even though Andre is a real piece of work, we gonna rock with Andre because even though Tayla is the real deal that we actually need, Andre know more people, has more money, and is able to rub more shoulders. And so we vote in against our own best interest because we're not voting for Tayla, who's going to get things done, who is like 100% pro-Black, inside, outside, publicly, privately, but we're going to vote for Andre because Andre's like, Black lives and all lives matter. It's like we always go for the safe route, like the safe choice. What's going to be pleasing to everyone instead of actually going and rocking with the person who has our best interests at heart, who may not have all the money, who may not have all the connection, but have the heart, the integrity, and the love for the people. And so we definitely need a change. We need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to have conversations with our family members and like do this thing that we really want to do. Like, now is the time. When I said that I was a little disappointed, let me be clear, like a little disappointed. One of the things that I was terrified of is if Biden won, speaking past tense, if Biden wins, then we're going to have a lot of people that get real comfortable because we got real comfortable with Barack Obama. We got extremely comfortable. Was I excited that a Black man won presidency? Absolutely. Am I happy and excited about everything that he did while he was president? No, I'm not. And I acknowledge that. And I also acknowledge that we sat around and got a little bit too comfortable and allowed things to happen that should not have happened. And I do not want us to get comfortable with Joe Biden in office and a Black vice president. And first and foremost, I want to be clear that she is not like, do you know Miss Chisholm? Have you been introduced to Miss Chisholm? When we know our history, we can actually not repeat it. Shirley Chisholm. We're going to have a Shirley Chisholm day one day. And we're going to go through the long list of Black folks that have been out here doing things, but don't get the acclimates? I think don't get the pats on the backs that they're supposed to be getting. And so, in other news, the Catholic priest, do you remember that we talked about the Catholic priest? The Catholic priest named as a child abuser in a new report was a counselor at a church camp in 1958 when a 10-year-old deaf boy disappeared before his skeletal remains were found a year later. Jerry Rapola worked as a Catholic camp at St. Malo in Colorado in August of 1958. Listen, God is so good. What happened in the dark always comes to the light. 1958. Do you know how, like, his parents must be so relieved to know, like, justice, like 70 years later, but justice. The bones belonging to the little boy were found in July of 1959. Rapola sexually abused a teenage boy when he was a parish priest in Grand Junction in 1967, a new report reveals. Authorities believe that the boy could have been one of several victims. Rapola died in March 1971 from long illness, because God is good and God is great. And when you out here doing devil's work in the name of God, lest you be taken care of and dealt with accordingly. The new report makes Rapola the third priest working at the camp the summer of Bobby's death, now known to have sexually abused children. The third priest at that camp that has been known to sexually abuse children. That has been known. I just wanted to make that clear. Harold Robert White has been described as the most prolific known clergy child sex abuser in Colorado's history. Neil Hewitt was one of the last to see Bobby alive and found his remains. Investigators have now launched a new probe into the little boy's disappearance. The Colorado Attorney General's office released a new report Tuesday naming 9 more Catholic priests who sexually abused children in Colorado. And this is an update to the damning probe by the Colorado Attorney General, in which October 2019 named 43 priests who abused at least 166 children from 1950. First and foremost, I would like to be clear that we need to have a real conversation about why priests cannot have sex with women. If you continue to make these priests not be able to have sex with women, they're going to continue to rape these little boys. Or maybe they became priests so they can rape little boys. I don't know. But I would love for us to have a real conversation about priesthood and why so many of them are known to be child and sexual abusers. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to make you aware. And I hope more states do more. Like, I pray to sweet baby black Jesus that more of these priests and popes and all these other named religious peoples, what happens in the dark come in the light, come tell the truth. The United Nations, this is huge. Shout out to all my weed smokers. Light it up, smoke it up, pass it up, inhale, exhale. The United Nations removes cannabis from the list of the world's most dangerous drugs. The UN Commission on Narcotic Drugs voted to remove cannabis from the Schedule 4 list of dangerous drugs on Wednesday. Of the 53 member states, 27 were in favor and 25 were opposed, with one to abstain. The move follows a recommendation by the World Health Organization to reclassify the drug. It is hoped that the change will lead to more freedom to investigate the potential medical benefits of marijuana, though decisions to legalize it will still be at a state level, or yes, at the state level. And so I was having a conversation recently and learned that CBD has been found to get rid of tumors, has found to be able to get rid of cancers. If you know Dr. Sabi, you know he was curing all types of things way before. And I don't know how he was curing it, but he was curing it. And so I'm excited that we are ushering this new era of like a freedom of, instead of the suppression. I think because we were unable, I want to be clear in my words because there's like 17 things that want to come out of my mouth and I'm trying to like format this correctly. And so what I'm thinking of now is, back in the 60s and in the 50s, there were newspaper articles about like wacky tobacco, Mexicans and blacks that smoke weed, are prone to raping white women. And, there was a lot of stigma surrounded around marijuana and black men or men of color. Because I don't know if Mexicans consider themselves to be black, even though they are. And this suppression of being able to like freely express yourself when we know for a fact, scientifically, statistically, that no one race smokes weed more than the other. Like we all equally smoke weed. And the truth of the matter is the dispensary here in Grove Hall, if you look at who's in line, your damn school teacher from third grade's in line. The white woman who was correcting you on all your punctuation, yeah, she in line to get her edibles. Your guidance counselor's in line getting weed. Like everybody smokes, and I'm just glad that on the universal level, the United Nations, and I'm interested in knowing who were the 25 nations that were like, no, I'm against it. Who are they and why? And those are the same questions that you need to ask to the, what was it, 67, 76? What was that number of the different politicians that voted against police reform? Those are the ones that need to be questioned too, my love. Just because 95 said, yes, let's reform police, we still had over 60 others that were like, nah, we don't need to reform a damn thing. You need to ask your elected official why they felt that wasn't a problem. The Monolith Mystery continues. The metal pillar suddenly appears on top of California's Pine Mountain just days after the one in Utah was removed, and another one was found in Romania. And so now I kind of feel like this is Crop Circle 101 all over again, because it was like the crop circles that happened in the early 2000s, late 1990s was like, oh my God, the aliens are trying to communicate with us. And then we found that it was people with long ass wood planks, like just stepping on damn grass, making shapes in the middle of fields and actually ruining crops too. But at first I was like, yes, the aliens are coming to communicate. But this just seems like not a hoax, but like men having fun and, playing around. The estimated weight is 200 pounds. Anari can pick me up. I'm about 200 pounds. So Anari could have done this and moved it and put it somewhere. One of his friends could have done it. Like anybody. At this point, it could have been anybody. But I am a hopeless romantic for life outside of Earth. And so I was really hoping that they were trying to come talk to us, but they clearly aren't. And it's men playing games with us. Like men tend to do. It literally shook the whole house. A meteor enters Earth's atmosphere over New York, creating a sonic boom and a bright flash seen as far as Toronto in Virginia. Residents of central New York and southern Ontario reported seeing bright flashing lights and hearing a loud boom. The satellite image shows that a meteor entered Earth's atmosphere between Rochester and Syracuse on Wednesday. NASA meteor experts said that it was traveling west at 56,000 miles per hour and entered atmosphere at 12:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It then broke into pieces some 22 miles above the surface of the Earth over central New York region. The dramatic Earth cam video shows a bright flash of light engulfing the skies over greater Toronto area. More than 150 sightings were reported to American Meteor Society from as far away as Michigan and Virginia. On Sunday, residents of Western Japan reported seeing a meteor light up the night skies as well. I want to ask all of my, this goes out to anybody who can hear my voice, but I want to specifically ask Bostonians, what is this freaking blue light in the sky on cloudy nights? Because I've never seen the blue light take place on a clear night, but on them cloudy nights, that blue light is like, it's bright as hell. You can't lie and say, damn, I don't know. You can't say, oh, it's an airplane. It literally stays in one place. I noticed last night while Prince and I were at the park that it is slow moving, because at one point I was standing at this one spot watching Prince do his thing, and it was like directly under one of the lights. And then 10 minutes later, I came to that very spot trying to take a picture of it, which my camera doesn't even allow, because you have to have like a supersonic damn camera to capture it. But I want to know, am I the only one seeing this damn blue light everywhere? Especially on cloudy nights. Please, somebody let me know that I'm not crazy. Is the volume, is it better? Because it's really, really high. Somebody said the volume was too low. What's going on, Javelin? Javelin, ain't you from New York? You called us? No, you're from Boston. Oh boy, the Urban League. I've heard some not so good things about them. What's going on, TT? What it do? Hey, Cedric, how are you? Javelin. And Obama did very little for black folks. He was not the black people president. I don't know why we really thought that he was going to come in and save us. Don't save them. They don't want to be saved. And the truth of the matter is, most black folks don't want to be saved. The ones that actually want to, quote unquote, be saved are saving themselves. We saving ourselves because we know ain't nobody coming to save us. Let me tell you something. The reason I do not want to run for office is because I like being able to kick in doors and for somebody to be like, I pay you. I don't need no Tayla Andres coming and holding me accountable for like nothing, period. I don't want to run for office because I do not, let me kick in doors. I don't want to be the person in the back pushing papers and doing paper things. And Julia Mahia is going freaking crazy as city councilor, not being able to get things done. Like, I feel like, and this is just my personal opinion, this isn't like conversations or anything that she said, I feel like she was able to get more done as a citizen than she was able to do, than she's able to do now as a city councilor. And this is my personal opinion. This has nothing to do with Julia. This didn't come out of Julia's mouth. I feel like she was out here, had the ability to change more lives without stipulation, without like nobody coming for her throat, because she was a citizen. She wasn't an elected official. She didn't have, a tax-paying money behind her, stopping her, prohibiting her from doing the things that she could do, and she could just kick down these doors and do what needed to be done. I like kicking down doors. I like being able to say, oh, what? Who didn't do what? Okay, let's call them. I like being on the other side and kicking in doors. Love and light don't mean I won't fight. Sick bastards, and I'm Catholic priest, that's normal for Catholic priests. It ain't normal. It ain't normal. 43, yes, 43, and that was only in Colorado, baby. They don't want women. It's a setup. They put in stuff in the weed. Okay, so Javelin said that he believes they put in stuff in the weed. Let me tell you, I have this same belief. So as far as dispensary weed is concerned, I don't think that stuff is normal. If the government has full control over this marijuana and they are determining what can be put out, and I am almost certain that there is something wrong with this weed. Do I have proof? No, I do not have proof. Am I a scientist? No, I am not. Did I do any studies? No, I did not. But I've been smoking weed for a really, really, really long time. So my mom is well aware. My dad is well aware. I feel like I could be honest. I've been smoking weed since I was about 12, 13 years old. So my best friend is Jamaican. And unfortunately, the stereotype for our situation is real. And I was introduced at a young age to ganja. I was introduced at a young age to weed, like actual weed with sticks, stems, and seeds back in the day type weed. And so the weed that I smoked when I was younger versus the weed from the dispensaries today, first and foremost, it does not taste the same. 3 days later, I still got this doo-doo taste in my mouth. I'm good. I brushed my teeth like 14 times. Why does it taste like this? Second of all, I found myself because I stopped smoking like dispensary weed. Is not for me. I don't like it. It's like it doesn't, the things I complain about, I'm not going to continue to complain about. I'm going to change it. And so I'm strictly natural. If I don't know where it was grown, if I don't know who grew it, if I don't know the farmer, I'm good. I won't be smoking it. Nor would I be buying it. And so my brother grows, my cousins grow. I'm going to grow. In Massachusetts, you can grow. Why not grow your own stuff? Unless you're impatient like me. Like, ain't nobody got time to wait 8 months. But it tastes different. It smells different. I feel like as far as reactions are concerned, I feel like these young kids get really super angry, angrier than they were at one time. Good rising, Liza. How you doing? Hey, Mike. So I feel like there is something wrong with this weed, dispensary weed, and I can't prove it, but I can definitely tell you that it's not, just like soda is not the same. Soda is not the same soda that I was drinking back in the day. If I taste soda today, it's not the same ingredients. It's not the same recipe. Food, it's not the same seeds. Like, none of this new stuff is none of it is not what it used to be. And so, yes, I completely agree. In other news, 1,000 Orthodox Jews crowded the streets of Jerusalem, breaking Israel's lockdown rules for a funeral of a rabbi leader who died from COVID-19. Yo, and this was in Jerusalem, so it's not like, okay, bye. It was in Jerusalem, so it wasn't like in New York City. Because in New York, we just read about the 7,000 that showed up for a wedding, another tens of thousands that showed up for another wedding. In New York, they're getting fines and everything else, ripping up the fines like, yo, you do not govern us. You are not God. Allah is not here. You are not him. So they're just doing what they want to do, but in the photo, like, no one's wearing a mask. Half of them, I'll say half. Half of them's wearing the mask. In one of the pictures, someone's actually coughing. Like, it's we gonna leave that there. But he died of COVID-19, yet everybody showed up maskless to like pay their respects. It's not funny. I just find it hilarious. Can you move? There it is. There's a bizarre face mask that looks like a Power Ranger mask, and it purifies the air when you breathe while protecting you from video surveillance. And they raised $140,000 on Kickstarter. It's Blanc, BLANC mask from the US. Developers use 2 HEPA filters that last up to 2 weeks. They claim that these are replaceable filters that can catch bacteria, viruses, and pollution. Wearers can replace the front plates with those of different colors as desired. The mask prevents identification from facial recognition cameras and software, such as a slippery slope to a world of supercharged policing. The designers said the future upgrades will include an audio modulation module to change your voice. And hold on, because I want those that are currently watching to be able to see what this looks like. Because it looks like Go-Go Power Rangers. Go-Go Power Rangers. Do, 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 do. And I'm feeling that all black one. Y'all see that? Could you imagine wearing that? It sort of looks like a helmet, like a motorcycle helmet, but it's not a motorcycle helmet, and it's just like front facing. It's dope. For those of the listeners for radio that can't see what we're currently talking about, it looks like a motorcycle helmet, but without the back end. And it has like a glass strip across your face and plastic for your forehead and your chin-ish area. And you can like change the colors out. And so I definitely, I want one because I do believe in facial recognition. That's why I don't do what them things called when you have filters. I don't do filters because they actually like it's facial recognition software every time you use a damn filter. It's all these different things like, oh, it's the 10-year challenge. No, they want to know what you look like different. And they have enough. It's like, it's a study. That's all it is. And you freely giving this information to them. So it's like, oh, me 10 years ago, me now. All right. What has changed structurally? What has changed, aesthetically? What are these changes that are taking place? And if we have 10,000 people, because I know 10,000 damn people on my Facebook did the 10-year challenge, Instagram 10-year challenge, LinkedIn 10-year challenge. So y'all doing this 10-year challenge, you giving them the data that they need in order for them to create the algorithms to say if this person ages 10, like you commit a crime at 22. This is what the algorithm looks like. So in 10 years, 20 years, this is what this person might look like. You already given into the 10-year challenge talking about some black don't crack. You gave them the data to create the algorithm to catch your ass 10 years from now. I'm not saying that you have to commit a crime. I'm just, I'm just saying don't give them the fuel or the rope to hang you with. Protect yourself, protect your kids. My kids are not allowed to do filters. They hate it. Mom, you ruin everything. You're right, I did. In 10 years from now, nobody's going to be able to reconstruct your face because they already have what you look like. Unless they just do a little digging because I post pictures all the time. U.S. records its highest daily COVID death toll ever. 3,157 people died from the virus yesterday, eclipsing previous records by over 20%. As L.A. plunges back into lockdown, CDC warns against Christmas travel, and Biden says 250,000 more will die by January. The U.S. is experiencing record daily death tolls and infection rates as the second wave continues to surge. Wednesday's death toll was over 3,100. That's more than a 20% increase from April 15th. The number of hospitalizations has reached a record of over 100,000, and new daily cases have surpassed over 200,000. I saw a meme today. It was just like the people who are staying in their house, respecting boundaries, putting on their mask are the same people in high school that end up doing the group project by themselves. And I was like, oh, that might have some validity to it. That might be right. While the virus is surging coast to coast, Midwest states continue to be among the hardest hit in the country based on new cases and deaths per 100,000. North Dakota, which has been hit the hardest last month in both cases and death, has now seen 1 in every 800 residents die from COVID-19. This comes as leaked White House coronavirus task force reports revealed the U.S. has a historic risk for COVID-19 transmissions, and all Americans are endangered. Going back to that mask, who about to get this mask with me? My mask about to be purple and black, boo. Purple and black. So the squad teams up on Obama, AOC, Miss Omar, Ayanna Pressley. They all slam Obama for saying defund the police is a snappy slogan that alienates voters by insisting that it is a mandate, and said that they were fed up with the attacks on activism. All 4 squad members have fired back at Obama after he criticized the defund police movement in an interview on Wednesday. He said a lot of questionable things in this interview on Wednesday. I have not heard it, but I'm just reading reports. And so reading the reports, I'm like, he could not have said this effery. Like the effery just sounds like he don't care no more. Honestly, let me tell you what Obama sounds like. Obama sounds like Andre. That's what Obama sounds like. Obama sounds like Andre with all of the connections and all of the money, saying all of the things to make people feel good versus the Tayla that's going to keep it real and be honest and be for the people. Which is weird because he's no longer president, nor is he running for anything. So why would you try and have these public conversations that should have been private? And personally, that's how I feel. If he felt like defund the police was a snappy slogan that needed to get rid of because it was alienating, certain voters, then that should have been a conversation with Ayanna Presley, with Ilhan Omar, with AOC. Like, that should have been a private conversation. Like, hey, ladies, I just want to connect real quick, even if it's a Zoom, if it's a phone call. Like, I get what you're saying. Yeah, the police do need to be defunded. Those funds need to be reallocated to other services for citizens and not like all of this, police effery, buying ex-military weapons, having multi-millions dollars of overtime while you're sleeping in your car, chilling, not doing a damn thing. But I don't think that should have been a public conversation. That's just my personal opinion. He also made a statement about black men voted for Donald Trump because he's the stereotypical macho figure, and that this is what black men yearn to be, is this like, I can say what I want, do what I want. I do agree in one aspect, as far as like he said that Democrats can't assume that they will always have the black vote, and that's true because what Democrats stand for isn't necessarily what all black people stand for. You can't count on the black vote simply because you're Democrats, because once upon a time the Dixiecrats, the Democrats, were the damn racist ones, and there was the Republicans that were upstanding citizens that were fighting for justice equally and beyond. And so I do agree that Democrats cannot assume that they will always get the black vote, because right now they don't have the black vote. And that's why Donald Trump won the first damn year. And not just black. And when I say black, I mean all black people, even those that don't consider themselves black, because I don't care if you're Dominican and Puerto Rican and you consider yourself to be white on paper, baby, you still black. You still get called an N-word in the streets. And so it's just questionable to me, and I'm not a fan of some of the things he said. I'm definitely gonna watch later on today so I can get an understanding for myself what was actually said versus the reports about what he said. The CDC recently came out and shortened the recommended quarantine time from the 14 days. So they initially said that you need to quarantine for 14 days. And then they said, well, if your COVID test comes back negative, then, after 10 days, you're good. And so they lowered it even further and say, you know what, you really only need 7. If you took a rapid test and the rapid test came back negative, you only need to quarantine for 7 days. So this is my problem. My problem is like incubation. So it takes time for the disease to do what it does. And so I can't be sitting next to Andre and me and Andre sitting next to Tayla and Andre sitting next to each other, and then I leave and go get a rapid test and it come back negative. I'm like, oh, I was exposed to somebody who had COVID-19, but I got a rapid test and it came back negative. Like, the people who were around mad family members and friends, and then the next day after Thanksgiving went to go get a test. For me, I'm not a scientist. I know nothing about science. I barely passed science in middle school. But I'm like, doesn't it need time to incubate? Like, if I get around somebody with, for instance, strep throat. So I have been prone to strep throat since I was a little girl. I got strep throat 5 times a freaking year. I got strep throat so many times. They were like, why don't you just get your tonsils removed so you can eliminate strep throat, which is crazy because I actually got strep throat after I got my tonsils removed. Isn't that insane? And I had enlarged balls. My tonsils, whenever I had strep throat and I had to go to the hospital to get tested so you can get the what's that pink stuff that tastes like bubblegum, and I loved it. That's why I really never got my tonsils removed, because the bubblegum candy, the bubblegum medicine tasted so good I didn't mind it. But whenever I had to get tested, they always brought in like the Meredith Grey versions of the doctors and was like, look, enlarged tonsils. This is what it looks like. And so I was like an abnormal human in the form of my tonsils were literally touching and I could not breathe when I had strep throat. But if I have strep throat and Anari got sick, Anari wouldn't get sick 24 hours after I got strep throat. Like it took him 2 and 3 days. And then he's like, Mommy, I think I have it too. So I'm just wondering, and that's strep throat. That's the common cold. That's like, these are these things. They have to like incubate in your system. You don't like someone sneeze and then 5 minutes later you have it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where the doctors at? Because I'm not a doctor. I have nothing as far as medical anything. Tell me more. Cigarettes kill and cannabis cures. Yes, yes, yes. This is some new world order-ish, you think? So now we're looking like Daft Punk. I don't know who Daft Punk is. I want to see this. Daft Punk. Are you talking about like face masks? Do they wear? Ooh. He is. Oh, I like these masks. Hold on, don't Daft Punk come? Are they musicians? I feel like I heard them before. Daft Punk. Hold on. We got another 5 seconds before we can go ahead and play this. I kind of like these AirPods, though. They look kind of dope. That's how they get you.
One more time.
Hey. They ain't finna shut me down. I did know Daft Punk. That's kind of dope. I'm down for these type of masks, a Daft Punk mask. They should have actually came out with it. Yo, who didn't tell them to come out with their own mask for what's the name? You know how much money they could have made? Yo, they're missing out. They're missing. Had I been Daft Punk out here with masks, the minute they said you have to wear a mask, we would have came out with a Daft Punk line of masks, and then we would have had multi-million-dollar real quick. Who is their publicist? You need to fire them and get you somebody else. In other news, Massachusetts legislators vote to ban police from using facial recognition. This was one of the bullet points that I read from the new law that was recently passed. We have Representative China Tayla in the building on Monday to talk about this bill that was passed into law and what it means for us more in depth than just the bullet points. But one of the factors is that lawmakers in Massachusetts have taken the rare step back from our inevitable future. And according to reports, the ban was part of the overall police reform bill that also bans police from using chokeholds, rubber bullets, limits the use of chemical agents such as tear gas, and will authorize officers to intervene if they feel another officer is using excessive force. The bill passed through both the House and the Senate, a few months of gridlock, but will be signed by Charlie Baker in order to become law. The bill does allow the limited use of facial recognition searches against state driver's license database, providing the officer has a search warrant for said person. Kate Crockford, the head of the ACLU Technology for Liberty program in Massachusetts, praised the move. She said no one should have to fear the government tracking and identifying their face wherever they go, or facing wrongful arrest because of bias, error-prone technology, and went on to detail the efforts that the ACLU has made over the last year to ban facial recognition in multiple municipalities throughout Massachusetts. We commend the legislator for advancing a bill to protect all Massachusetts residents from unregulated face surveillance technology. I am super excited about this. I absolutely love it. There has been countless studies showing how racist racial bias is often backed into these programs. This racial bias often results in people being misidentified in situations where accuracy is essential. It's already happened in Detroit when a 25-year-old dark-skinned black man with tattoos was arrested for an incident involving a light-skinned, tattoo-less teenager. It's not simply a hypothetical situation as far as this technology can lead to really bad outcomes for folks, including death. And if you super dark skinned with tattoos and you're a teenager without tattoos and they're like, you're this man, it's just like, hold on, can you not see the difference? Like, black people don't look the same. Yo, how about this chick? I don't even have the report up, but I remember reading earlier today, and it reminds me of this as far as like facial recognition software is concerned. They were in a hearing. I believe it was a Senate hearing, and she was like, I think voter fraud is real because everybody should have IDs. All Asians look alike. I can't tell them apart. Are you tapped? Even if that's what you believe, that ain't something you say publicly. Nor is that something you say in a publicly recorded hearing. It just makes me think, like, how do you think this is going to go for you? As far as work-related, like in the future, how do you think this is going to go for you when we Google you and what comes up is the fact that you believe all Asians look the same and we need voter IDs in order to vote because the Asians that all look alike are going to vote multiple times. Somebody could come in and vote and leave and come back, and I wouldn't even know it's the same person because they all look alike. Tapped. Y'all tapped. Police training guide calls Black Lives Matter a terrorist trained group. The training guide promotes Trump conspiracies. A prominent law enforcement training group, the International Law Enforcement Educators in Training, the ILEETA, is teaching its officers that Black Lives Matter is a terroristic organization that uses guerrilla warfare tactics. I like to pause here and insert my own comments because Black Lives Matter is so disorganized. They don't have none of their ish together to the point where we don't even have a game plan. It is not a terrorist group. There is no collaboration. There is no uniform. They do not all speak the same language. Black Lives Matter Cambridge, Black Lives Matter Weymouth, Black Lives Matter Plymouth, and Black Lives Matter Brockton have 15 different ideologies. It is not uniform. It is not the same. Y'all are lost. And whoever wrote this, y'all should, Black Lives Matter should sue them for defamation of character. No, but seriously, you should sue for defamation of character. A document titled The Understanding Antifa and the Urban Guerrilla Warfare states that radical militants are participating in the movement. Antifa and Black Lives Matter have no intentions to negotiate, the document reads. These are revolutionary movements whose aims are to overthrow the U.S. government. If you know Black Lives Matter, and you have ever been a part of any of their movements, you know damn well overthrowing the government is not even close on their radar, let alone, a tangible action item that is obtainable. The guide also contains unproven Trump-like conspiracies, such as Black Lives Matter having a financial relationship with the Democratic Party and China. Black Lives Matter is supposedly funded by China in that the money is donated to the Democratic Party, the document continues. The 176-page guide calls protesters useful idiots unwittingly serving for hardcore terrorist training troops. The paper was the work and opinion of LIEETA members and since has been removed and replaced with new resources. I want to know who okayed it. That 176 guide. I want to know who edited it, or not even edit. So Tayla Andre is having a problem getting her Boston resident book into the Boston Public Library. So I want to know how this 170-page guide was able to make it to the police without anybody saying, no, we have questions. And so with that being said, shameless plug, if you could go to the Boston Public Library and please request, or even your library, I don't care what state you live in, I don't care what city you live in, I don't care what parish you live in, I don't care what country you live in. Can you please go ask your library to order Finally Home, the step-by-step guide for people preparing for first-time home ownership, because I would love to have my book in the library immediately in Brockton, Boston, everywhere across the United States. So if you could, for me, go to your library online and request a book by Tayla Andre, Tayla Finally Home, the step-by-step guide for people preparing for first-time home ownership. That is my ask for you. Can you do that for me today? Thank you. Hey, Steve. I miss you, Steve. Can we have another conversation? Every product has chemicals in it. That's absolutely right. They just asked for donations. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter gets millions of dollars. They do exactly. China don't have to pay them for anything. Nothing. For what? Because we are throwing money at Black Lives Matter. And not only are we throwing money at Black Lives Matter, but everybody wants a damn sign in their yard. But how many times have you utilized a black business? How many times do you utilize a black service? How many times do you call a black company? Don't sit here and put a sign in your yard talking about Black Lives Matter and you don't even bank black, work black, shop black. That's how you make Black Lives Matter, by keeping dollars in our community and uplifting our small businesses. Period. In other news. So I try to come to the website where the ILEETA training book was, that 176 training book, and it's no longer even on their website. Boy, bye. Good. Black students in Oregon City sue the school district for failing to take action on racial harassment. So a black student in Lake Osagowa, hold on, I'm not going to butcher this. We're going to go ahead and pronunciate this correctly. Pronunciation. Oh, gosh. Okay, we have to wait for an ad before I can listen to the damn pronunciation. Lord have mercy. A white Georgia woman faces assault charges after threatening to shoot two black boys riding their bike, and said that they were trespassing.
Oswego.
Oswego. Okay, we got it. Oswego. So this took place in Lake Oswego School District. The superintendent, Laura De La Cruz, and the state senator, Rob Wagner, are all named as defendants on a tort claim filed by the unnamed student. The student, who is black, alleges that she has endured countless instances of racism during her time at Lake Ridge High, and that the child's attorney have said that the suit will be filed in the next coming weeks against these individuals. A statement on the case saying that the student endured insults about her hair, cyberbullying, racial slurs, harassment when she played on the school basketball team. Any effort by the family to get the school to address these problems was allegedly met with indifference. The schools are a hotbed for racism, said their attorney. White decision makers engage in performative allyship while covering up a deep racist culture. And so they are taken to the court system and suing. Good, as you should continue to do it. Continue. Yes. And so I am excited that the 52-year-old Patricia Compton, her first response when a neighbor called her to tell her that two people were on her property was to grab her gun and to go down there. Compton did not own the land, nor was her home located on the property in question, but she had animals there, and the plot was used for a construction shop. However, her actual rights to the property were nothing. She had no rights to the property. When the Peach County resident arrived at Roland Circle, she encountered two black boys, 12 and 13 years old, who were riding their bikes through the neighborhood. Many folks, this would probably have been the end of story, but no, she was like, they're trespassers. They were not children on bikes. They were trespassers. She told them to stop or I'll shoot you. And she now faces a slew of charges from the November 22nd incident, including several counts of aggravated assault, child cruelty, terroristic threats. I love it. This makes my heart sing. I appreciate it so much, and I hope she gets the maximum. I hope they throw the jail at her and make her an example, period. Whew. So shout out to Gap. And you know what? I want to shout out to all of the companies. What up, Lee? What about Facebook? Talk to me about Facebook, Lee. Shout out to all of the companies that are doing what they need to do in order to prove that Black Lives Matter in the form of diversifying their executives, diversifying their heads of departments, diversifying, you know, positions of power. And a huge shout out to the stock exchange who said, listen, we want more diversity on your boards. I'm not a fan of the way that they name diversity, because they said that one of the criterias for the new boards, if you're a Fortune 500 company or if you're a company being sold on the stock exchange, your board has to be diverse. It has to have one woman and then one minority group that is can include the LGBTQ. So essentially, you could have a white woman and a white woman who identifies as them, and you have met the diversity criteria, but yet you really still don't have no diversity on your board. And so for me, that's not like I'm not a fan of that, but I do like the way that they're now calling for diversity and saying, like, listen, if y'all gonna be publicly traded, y'all need to be publicly diverse as well. And so I did not realize that we have come all the way to the top of the hour. I love you guys so much. I appreciate you. What do I think about Facebook? Lee on this app called Tag just asked me what I think about Facebook. And long story short, I think I appreciate Facebook because it allows my grandmother to interact with her children, her grandchildren, and her great grandchildren in a way that she would not have otherwise been able to. But as far as Facebook, like the whole recognition, like, Tayla, I think someone tagged you in a picture. And it is like, how do you know unless you engaged in facial recognition software in order to find me on somebody's page who we are not friends? And I'm literally in the background of this picture, not even looking for the camera. So I'm not a fan, but I do appreciate for the good. And it's like how I feel about all forms of technology and all forms of like these new developments that we're coming out with. I absolutely love how they make our lives easier, how they make our lives better, but I hate when they are used to weaponize against us. And so with that being said, we've come all the way to the top of the hour. I am Tayla Andre. Waking Up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day that we link up. About waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. I would like to end our show the same way that we started. I want you to look at yourself and say, I appreciate you. Go look in the mirror, have a conversation in the mirror with you and say, Tayla, I am really glad that you have grown so much. How you respond to circumstances today is not how you would have responded to circumstances a year ago, 5 years ago. And I love how much you have grown so far. I appreciate the fact that even after a long day of work, you go home and you try and make it work as far as dinner is concerned and make the dinner that these kids want. I appreciate the way that you take time out to spend with the children individually. And it's not easy being a single mom, but I see you, Superwoman, and I love the way you love yourself. And so I want you to give yourself a compliment today. Go look in the mirror, take a picture of yourself, and then look at yourself. Just give yourself the compliment that you want somebody else to give you, because no one's going to love you the way you love you. No one else is going to sit here and send you good morning text messages. Well, actually, good rising, because I don't care about mornings. And no one else is going to send you good rising text messages. No one else is going to be like, did you eat today? How are you feeling today? Are you bright on the inside? So you have to give yourself those compliments that you seek from others. You have to give yourself the bubble baths that you seek from others. You have to give yourself the meals that you seek seek for others. Don't think for 5 seconds if you don't do these things for yourself that somebody else gonna do it for you. So love yourself the way that you want to be loved. And I promise you won't be searching for it from another because you'll be doing it for yourself. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Everything Tayla Andre, TaylaAndre.com. Can you please go to your local library online and request Finally Home, the step-by-step guide for people preparing for first-time home ownership so they can go ahead and get it and you can have it in your library and read it for free. You see how that works? I hope you guys have an amazing day today. Mwah.